Well, this is a very first for the Variety program. We have a United States Senator and an NBA star appearing simultaneously on the program. I want to welcome North Dakota Senator Kevin Cramer and Enes Cantor Freedom. Welcome, gentlemen.
I thought you were going to say Bill Bradley. Then you'd have both in one. It'd be a lot easier. Not so today.
Not so today. Not so today. Well, listen, we're really excited to talk to you all. And Enes, let me just start with you. One day you're starting in the NBA, you decide to speak out on human rights abuses. Next thing you know, you got this guy dragging you around North Dakota. It's been kind of a journey, hasn't it?
How'd you know?
No, it's an amazing friendship because obviously we met in DC, and I was talking in a Senate lunch for Republicans, and we had an amazing conversation. And obviously after the conversation, we're just chatting and stuff, and he invited me to North Dakota, and this is actually my second time coming here. It's not my first time.
Is that right? You had another occasion to venture into North Dakota.
So my first time I did another basketball camp here, but it's been amazing. I wanted to come here and obviously hang out with him and the people of North Dakota. So far, besides being too cold, it's been amazing.
Well, so by way of background, I think almost everybody's heard of you, Enes, but by way of background, playing in the NBA, doing well. I mean, really just an incredible career in the making. And you decide because of your background, where you grew up in Turkey, to start speaking out about human rights abuses.
Right.
Now we can go to the venture of where that's landed for you here today, but what about your experience in coming to America and playing in the NBA sort of focused your mind on human rights?
Well, it was amazing. The reason I came here back in 2009, I was 17 years old. The reason I came here because my family was all about education, and they wanted me to come here and go to school and play basketball at the same time. So I came here, went to prep school, went to college in Kentucky. Then I got drafted by Utah Jazz in 2011. And it was an amazing experience. Obviously, from day one, the people in America opened their arm and gave me a warm welcome. So they were very respectful, and they were very, warm, welcoming people. And then, my first couple of years in the league, I only cared about, was playing basketball and hang out with my teammates.
Yeah.
And then obviously after that, there was some problems happening in my home country, Turkey, and I started to speak up. And then I was like, well, this is very interesting. This is bigger than basketball. It affects people's life and it touches people's heart. So I'm like, from now on, I'm going to pay attention about what's going on in my home country more and more.
Yeah. Well, what's so interesting about you, and I imagine this is how Senator Cramer got to know you, is that most people who spend as much time sort of focused on human rights abuse, they tend to be sort of sour, dull, and very serious people, right? Mm-hmm. And you're like personality plus, right? This is you do the serious work, but you also have a ton of personality. And I imagine Senator Cramer, that was probably one of the things that stood out to you when he visited the Senate lunch.
Josh, I would go so far as to say it's unfair how much personality Enes has. I mean, look at him, for crying out loud. He's got everything in the world going for him, and which makes his proclamation and the sacrifices he's made to speak out all the more impressive. The boldness of his proclamation is as impressive as the content of it. And there's no question that, just to tell you, I mean, we were with 150 young kids yesterday, grade school through high school, shooting buckets and doing a basketball camp. And he had every single one of them eaten out of the palm of his hand just by virtue of his smile, his personality. Obviously being, nearly 7 feet tall is impressive. It helps. But you're absolutely right, Josh. That's what attracts me. And by the way, it's what I think attracts people from all political stripes to Enes and to his message. His message, like Enes, is really universal.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that, well, almost universal. Right?
Almost universal.
Right.
Yeah,
almost universal. What Enes found out is unfortunately some of the business considerations in the NBA they have the mute button with China in particular. And as you have expanded your platform to speak out about human rights abuses around the world, you stumbled onto a topic that the NBA wasn't so wild about.
Unfortunately, like you said, NBA does have a mute button. And when you talk about some of the things that is going to affect their business or money or jersey sales or shoe sales, they're going to do everything they can to, keep you silenced. And unfortunately, that is the one thing that really frustrates me is the hypocrisy. When 2 years ago, you see what was happening in NBA when all the Black Lives Matter protests were happening. NBA was the first organization who went out there and said, "Hey, we stand with our players. We encourage everyone to speak up about whatever they want to talk about," right? And then 2 years later, this happened. That is the one thing that really frustrates me: the hypocrisy.
Well, I bet it's sort of confusing too, right? Because you're surrounded by a league that is telling you that justice is the most important thing. It transcends basketball, it transcends sport. And you're like, okay, well, that makes sense to me because I've been speaking about these issues too. And then they're like, well, not that kind of justice.
Yes. See, they have a business to run, but same time, then don't come out there and say, this is bigger than basketball, and we need to come out and talk about some of the things that happen in our country. I just wish my only wish was just only one player. I was like praying to God. I was like, God, please send me one player that can stand right next to me, that is going to fight to this system. Unfortunately, none of them had that courage.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, right? And you're talking about a lot of people that this is their one shot. And so, for a lot of players, I understand, you got to make a living and this is their one shot to do it. But for those with the biggest platform, that's where it's most disappointing, Enes. And one player in particular who I know you've gotten into confrontations with is LeBron James, who, again, fashions himself as a community activist and a seeker of justice throughout the world. And yet, again, he has a big problem with what you've been saying. I know you've gotten into like verbal battles over the years. Right. Give me your take on that.
It's the same way. 2 years ago, he was actually one of the first players came out and said, whatever is happening in our country is wrong. I'm like, okay, well, then why don't you just speak up about all the human rights violations that are happening all over the world? Because the company you just signed with, Nike, right, they are all about now justice and this and that. But obviously, the whole world knows about the sweatshops and slave laborers and how he's making money out of it. Is just unacceptable. And obviously, when you call him out, when you try to hold him accountable, he does. And not just him, but many people, many companies or many players, athletes will get very uncomfortable. And they will only talk and care about the things that won't affect their money or pocket. And that is the one thing that I feel like we should expose.
Yeah, 100%. And Senator Cramer, I got to imagine bringing a guy with this kind of integrity, right, who has sacrificed personally, financially, so much to talk directly to issues that are facing people. It's got to be incredible to be able to bring him around North Dakota, invite him into camps, invite him to kids, have him talk to people as somebody who, the kids see on TV playing basketball. But on the other hand, this is somebody who's risked his entire livelihood to do the right thing.
Right. Yeah, he's really sacrificed it all, and starting with his family when he spoke out against Turkey. So his family's still in Turkey, dealing with Enes's, personality and popularity here in the United States. They've sacrificed. Now his career is sacrificed to speak out against China. And the thing that about that's so gratifying to me is I get to introduce him to liberals, conservatives, moderates, people who've never thought about these things before, people who, want to know who his favorite teammate is more than what his favorite cause is. Right. And they're all drawn, but to your earlier point, by his personality and his platform. And the fact that he's the only one, while Enes wishes, and I wish for Enes that some others would stand beside him from the league, the fact he's the only one makes him all the more special. And I think in the end has even a more dramatic effect. Now, I'm moved by it. And he wants me to introduce legislation and pass it tomorrow, that fixes a lot of these things. But what's really important is he's talking to the people I work for. And if we're going to heal a lot of these things, if we're going to get more united around justice, social justice, and human rights, as Republicans and Democrats and everybody in between, it's guys like Enes, they're going to change that by talking to the people that we work for, not just talking to us. He's convinced me.
Yeah, well, no question. How much of this, Enes, do you think is shaped by your personal perspective in coming to the United States, given your background, and now becoming an American citizen?
Mhm. Is that there's actually a funny story I want to tell you guys. I came here back in 2009, and I remember one of my teammates, well, I was going to prep school, one of my teammates criticized the president, right? And I saw
You're
his
like,
post.
uh-oh.
I saw his post, right? I immediately like turned around and said, dude, what are you doing? And he's like, what happened? He's like, you just criticized the president. You might be in jail tomorrow. Right. And he started to laugh really hard. And I was very confused. I'm like, why is this guy laughing? And he turned around and said, listen, man, this is not Turkey. This is America. And I'm like, what do you mean? He said, well, we have freedom of speech, religion, expression, and press here. Just because of you tweet or you say something against the government or the president, trust me, you don't be thrown in jails and stuff. And I was very shocked. I still didn't understand what he was saying because I never had that growing up. And then obviously the more I lived here, the more, start meeting people like Senator, I understand what freedom is all about, and I'm just keep telling people, people should feel very lucky and blessed to be in a country, be in a situation like here, because I can count tens of, countries out there where you tweet something that you'll be in jail,
Right.
Where it's funny because I don't want to say it's funny, it's crazy, but I'm just keep giving this example. My manager's wife's dad liked one of my posts on Twitter. He was in jail for 13 days.
Oh,
think about it.
Yeah.
Think about how blessed we are here in America.
No kidding.
Isn't that encouraging, Josh? So this guy comes from Turkey, experiences all this stuff, makes these bold statements, ends up sacrificing a career and family for it. And he's the one reminding us of how blessed we are.
Yeah, I know. That's the special thing about it. And I assume that's the impetus behind the name change.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, well, the reason I wanted to, take that, last name and put that behind my jersey, especially because, I wanted all the kids out there, all the sports fans, especially young generation, because if you want to have a better and brighter future, we have to change our young generation's mindset. We have to. So I put that behind my jersey right now. Everywhere I go, people will call me freedom. So obviously, because of the social media, because of internet, people, especially the kids, started to research about why this player took that name, So, and then many players, many, coaches or many fans, or especially kids, came up to me and asked me about, hey, thank you for, taking that name. Thank you for standing for freedom. Thank you for standing with our country. And we did our research and we saw that, how blessed and lucky we are. So that was pretty much like a little reminder to everyone out there that how, things can get really rough in some of the countries out there in the world.
Wow, that is really special. That's an incredibly thoughtful way of putting that and giving people the opportunity to do their own research and figure out what it is that you are standing for. Enes, let me ask you this. You can obviously still play ball.
Mm-hmm.
Have you given up another shot at the NBA? Is that a reality that is probably at odds with your stance as an activist at this point, or you hope to get back?
I mean, we were just talking with Senator actually just yesterday. I mean, I'm 29 years old.
I was just going to say, you're a young man.
I mean, I can play another 6-7 years, and I am a type of guy that I try to play every game, even if I'm like little hurt. I just love the game, and obviously this platform is giving me by God first, and then this is second. Obviously, NBA is giving me a platform to talk about whatever I want to talk about. So I do not want to quit basketball. Mm-hmm. I still want to play, and I'm 29, and I do want to go out there and win a championship. I want to battle with my teammates and have fun. So I mean, I understand, some of the things that I'm talking that can, cause a lot of problems for some people. But it is a fight. It is a good fight that has to be given. But I don't want to quit basketball.
Yeah, no, I can understand. In the meantime, you can post up Cramer over there and see if you can.
He's got a higher standard than that.
So, Senator Cramer, did you know Enes? Do you know of Enes before you met him in the Senate lunch?
Well, I did know of him, and actually, Enes and I met at dinner the evening before with Senator Langford and Senator Lee. We have a fellowship group of friends, people you know, and Senator Langford actually invited Enes, and then Senator Langford was late, but it's okay. And so we all got to know Enes really well. So I did know of him, and then he came to lunch the next day with Republican senators. In fact, I bumped into him getting into the elevator, and it occurred to me how special that was, and it occurred to Enes how special that was. That you bump into people in the United States Capitol when you're trying to influence the country. It's pretty cool. So he's going to be a lobbyist now. But anyway, that's another story. If the NBA thing doesn't turn out, believe me, he's going to be fine. Anyway. So I knew about him, but I didn't know him. And then when I did get to know him, it doesn't take long, Josh, as you can tell. I mean, you get to know his heart pretty quickly, and it's quite remarkable. And so, unfortunately for him, I invited him to North Dakota before he started this new career of a professional advocate around the country. And he came here with me. It's a remarkable thing, and I'm blessed by it.
Well, it's good. It's a good partnership. I'm glad you're doing it. Enes, I want to talk to you just for a minute about you're drafted into the NBA, right? Mm-hmm. This is a dream come true, clearly.
Of course.
What was that experience like coming from where you came from, getting into this just unbelievably large, incredible organization that everyone focuses on, and all of a sudden you're a star in this country? I mean, that had to have been in and of itself sort of a jarring change of reality for you.
I remember first time that I hear my name at a draft night, they said from Turkey. So that made me obviously really proud, because I was representing, which they think I'm the enemy of the state, but I was representing my country, representing my family, representing my people, right? And it was a very special night, because my whole life I worked for that moment to become an NBA player. Once, I get an MBA, I was like, well, the job is not done. Job is just starting. That's what a lot of players were just saying, because they think when a player gets drafted, okay, they made it. No, they're actually just starting. So
there's a new draft class every year trying to replace you, right?
Exactly. So no, my first couple of years, I had so much fun with my teammates, and obviously, my first year we actually made the playoffs with Utah Jazz, and it was an amazing state, really good people, and Mormons were really nice to me, really warm people. And then after that, I got traded to Oklahoma City Thunder. And obviously with Senator Langford and some couple other people from day one, they gave me a really warm welcome. And then I got traded to New York Knicks.
Yeah,
it was a very wild lifestyle. It was
a little different than Oklahoma City.
Oh God. It was a very different experience. I always wanted to play for like a big city, and I was like, well, I don't know if I want to play for a big city anymore. It was the Knicks were amazing. Obviously, it's the Madison Square Garden. It's the Knicks. It was amazing. But then
it's
obviously
Mecca basketball, right? I mean, it's everything at the same time. There's a lot of scrutiny that comes along with it.
Right,
that market.
Yeah, and then I played for Portland and Boston, and then I played 11 years in the league, and it's been such a fun time. Now looking back, having battling with my teammates and going out there and just try to win every game, and you play through some injuries sometimes, and you win games, you lose games. So it was really cool. It was really cool, and also you
have a favorite.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite season amongst all of those? I mean, I know you played with Westbrook when he was sort of in the MVP conversation. You're surrounded by a lot of great players and a lot of great teams. Do you have a favorite?
I think my favorite season was when I was with Portland, when we made the conference finals against Golden State. So that was definitely my favorite season.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, before I have 3 questions that I need to ask each of you that we ask each of our people on the interviews. That are the things that everybody listens to. But before I get that, I know you've been paying close attention to the NBA playoffs. Who's the team to beat here, Enes?
Ooh, if I had to pick one team that's gonna go all the way, I think I'm going with Phoenix.
Is that right? Yeah. Well, it doesn't
Yeah,
surprise me.
I
They're
think I think
well-rounded.
they couldn't get it, last year, but I think this year they have a really good chance to, win it all. And obviously, I think Chris Paul is just needs to do it this year, and
That's
everyone
right.
is cheering. Everyone is cheering for him. So I love their coach. Their coach is very, very special. So I'll probably say Phoenix.
No, that's good. That's a good pick. We'll watch and see if you're right. I have a feeling you might be. All right. So here are the three questions. The first question is, if you could plan your last meal on Earth,
Oh
Senator
God.
Cramer, I'm going to start with you on this because I feel like if it's not good in North Dakota, you're in deep trouble.
First of all, I want you to know that I've been having dinner with Enes the last 2 nights, and he's fasting for Ramadan.
Yeah.
But he can eat
Oh,
at
God.
8:45 at night, and he eats 3 meals at once. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. People, it's just very impressive. Let's just say. Anyway, he's a growing boy. He's 29.
That's
So
right.
anyway, it would be a North Dakota meal for sure. Josh, I'd probably have a large prime rib cooked medium
There you go.
with some veggies and really good potatoes for sure.
That sounds exactly like what I would expect. That's perfect. Enes, what do you got?
Oh God. Okay. So I'm thinking. I think I'm gonna go with pizza. Pizza and cheesecake. Yeah.
That's
Wow.
very. I
Yeah.
get
Pizza
it.
and cheesecake.
I guess his NBA career is over.
That's a good answer, though. That's a good
It is.
answer. Senator Cramer, I'm going to start with you on this too, because I'm interested. I've thought about asking you this for a while. If you never got into politics, if you never got into public service in any regard, you had sort of a blue sky in terms of what you could do with all that time in your life, what would it be?
Yeah, boy. It's interesting, Josh, because that's a changing answer for me. Like right now, what I would like to be would be an NBA owner, so I could hire Enes
Oh,
and just tell the rest of them to pound sand. That's really right. That's how I feel right now. If I could,
You
if I
better
could
get
do
out to Bach and get in the oil business.
Yeah,
Pretty
that's
quick.
right. Unfortunately, my family stopped at Minnewacan, in Benson County. You know where that is?
I
They planted
do.
rocks instead of oil. Anyway, no, that's what I would do today if I could do anything.
I love that. And it's same question. If you didn't get into the NBA and you had all
Well, I
this
mean,
blue
politics was
sky,
always my passion. Politics was my, especially when you see leaders like Senator Kramer. But if no politics, if no any kind of sports, I think I will go with being an astronaut.
oh
Because
yeah,
space was just always so interesting to me, and
Oh my
I
gosh.
think it's something very fascinating. But I came to America. I remember I was going to Kentucky, and one of my teachers asked me like, "What do you want to be if you didn't want to be a basketball player?" I said astronaut. He really destroyed my dreams because they don't make the space suits big enough for you. So that literally destroyed my dreams.
in Kentucky, the only thing that he could have said that would have destroyed it more is being a jockey, because I don't think that would work from a science perspective either.
So I know the head of the University of North Dakota School of Aerospace Sciences spacesuit
Oh wow.
lab really well, Dr. Pablo De Leon. So we're gonna
Okay.
talk to Pablo. He now makes them on a printer. He can
Oh wow.
create
Okay. Interesting.
spacesuits on a 3D printer.
A
I just
7-foot
saw his lab down at NASA a couple
Yes.
weeks ago.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe they can
7-foot.
print the 7-foot version of it and see if
There
we
you go.
can't
They
make
may
it.
have to make the capsule bigger too.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well,
that'd be
Elon Musk is sending people to space every once
There
in
you
a
go.
while. You might be on a short list with that. It seems like you have a lot of things in common, honestly, Enes. All right, here's the last question, and you got to follow me on this because it's a little esoteric. But the way we see it, people are generally motivated by one of two things. It's either the thrill of victory or the agony of defeat. And it's not that anybody enjoys defeat, right? It's that the thrill of victory person is a kind of a glass half full, sunny optimist, always trying to accomplish the next thing in front of them. The agony of defeat person is basically defined by Michael Jordan, right? This is a person whose every success has ever had in life, it lasts for like 3 minutes. And every defeat or setback they've ever had, they wear like a backpack vowing never to repeat it and to try to gain higher and higher and higher than they previously are. So Enes, I'm going to start with you on this one.
Okay.
Thrill of victory or agony of defeat?
What do you mean?
What motivates? What would motivate?
Oh, what motivates me?
Yeah,
Okay.
what would motivate
Um,
you?
I think, I think I would just say our young generation. It is so important to just inspire them because I mean, now with all the social media, with internet and everything, right? They follow your footsteps and they pretty much like look everything you're doing. It's a big responsibility. It's a really good responsibility, but it's a tough one because I mean you're becoming a role model and you can inspire millions of people out there, especially the kids. And if you want to have a better and brighter future, we have to educate and inspire our young generation. I think so. Every time I go out there, every time I put on my shoes, and that is the one thing that is in my mind. I'm like, what can I do to inspire our young generation so they can have a better and brighter future?
That is a thrill of victory guy if I've ever heard of it.
Isn't it though?
Yeah, it
Isn't
is.
it though?
It
Yeah.
is. How about Senator Cramer? Where are you on this scale?
So it's interesting. I've had a lot of success, Josh, but it followed a lot of failure. And I ran for Congress and lost 3 times before I ran and won, and I haven't lost since. And I would say the thrill of victory, I'd like to celebrate victory, but I'll be honest, I've learned a lot more in failure. And whether it's a race for Congress or a piece of legislation that you're going to have to wait till the next term and the next term, and you know how all that goes, Josh. I would say though, I'm motivated by the prize, the outcome at the other end. So, but whether I'm inspired, I probably am motivated as much by the agony of defeat, but only because I still want the prize.
Yeah, that's the agony of defeat guy, though. You just articulated the agony of defeat guy. That's it. It's not that anybody ever enjoys losing or they don't enjoy winning. It's what motivates you more. And I got to tell you, Enes, you're walking around North Dakota with a good guy. I don't know anybody that I tried harder to recruit to run for Senate than Kevin Cramer. Thank goodness he did it because he's a magnificent senator. And I know you guys are having a blast out there.
Yeah, right. Josh, now that I think about it, you were pretty persuasive in that hunt.
Well, listen, Enes, for those who want to help you out, want to learn more, want to understand what it is that you're up to, where can they find you? Where do we direct them?
I'm going to have a website, nsfreedom.org. They can pretty much just go onto their website and learn everything that I'm trying to do, Yeah. So, and trust me, I'm not doing anything for myself. I'm trying to do everything I can to just help people out there because, they need a voice. They need many people out there are unfortunately not as blessed as we are. So we need to be their voice and we need to help those people out. So nsfreedom.org, and they can just go there and check it out.
Enes Freedom, you are an inspiration to a whole lot of us. And I can't thank you enough for what you're doing. Senator Cramer, thanks for the platform here and giving us some time today.
My pleasure. Sure. Thanks for your interest, Josh.
Take care, guys.